Hello students, in the last video we have talked about greenhouse effect, okay? And today we are going to talk about our new topic, that is depletion of ozone layer in stratosphere, okay? Depletion of ozone layer in stratosphere. So let's begin with our new topic, okay? So you have earlier studied in the chemistry textbook of class 11 about the bad ozone formed in the lower atmosphere, in bracket troposphere, that harms the plants and animals. Okay, so actually there are two types of ozones: good ozone and bad ozone. Bad ozone is present in the troposphere layer of the atmosphere. Okay, bad ozone is present in the troposphere layer of the atmosphere, and that causes harm to animals and plants. Okay, that causes harm to animals and plants. But there is a good ozone also that is present in the stratosphere layer of the atmosphere. Okay, a good ozone is also there, which is present in the stratosphere layer of the atmosphere, and that ozone protects all organisms from harmful UV rays that is coming from the sun. Okay, so there are two types of ozone: good ozone and bad ozone. Bad ozone is present in the troposphere layer of the atmosphere, and good ozone is present in the stratosphere layer of the atmosphere. Good ozone protects all organisms by absorbing the UV rays, and bad ozone will cause harm to the plants and animals. Okay, so there is a good ozone also. This is found in the upper part of the atmosphere, which is called stratosphere, and it acts as shield, absorbing ultraviolet radiation coming from the sun. Okay, good ozone works as a shield, and that good ozone absorbs UV rays coming from the sun. Okay, all the UV rays which are coming with the solar radiation are absorbed in the ozone layer that is present in the stratosphere. Okay, so UV rays are harmful. How can we say that UV rays are harmful for animals and plants? Actually, when the UV rays form on the body of organism, they cause mutation in DNA. They cause mutation in DNA, and this mutation may lead to cancer. This mutation may lead to cancer. Okay, so when the UV rays fall on the body of organism, they break the bonds of protein and DNA. They break the bonds of protein and DNA, which leads to mutation, and that mutation may cause cancer. That mutation may cause cancer. In this manner, UV rays are harmful, so they should be absorbed in the stratosphere layer. Okay, so UV rays are highly injurious to living organisms, since DNA and protein of the living organism preferentially absorb UV rays, and its high energy breaks the chemical bonds between these molecules. The thickness of the ozone layer in the column of the air from the ground to the top of the atmosphere is measured in terms of Dobson unit, DU. DU does not mean Delhi University. DU means Dobson unit. Okay, DU means Dobson unit, and that Dobson unit is used to measure the thickness of the ozone layer. Dobson unit is the unit which is used to measure the thickness of the ozone layer, and we said that UV rays are harmful because they break the bonds that are present in the DNA and protein. They break the bonds which are present in the DNA and protein. Okay, sure. Now what happens is that ozone is continuously formed in the stratosphere, and it is continuously depleted also. Okay, ozone is continuously formed also, and it is continuously depleted in the stratosphere layer. How? So see, first of all, the ultraviolet rays that are coming from the sun will act on the molecular oxygen. Okay, ultraviolet radiations which are coming from the sun, they act on the molecular oxygen, and they break molecular oxygen into two atoms of oxygen. Okay, they break molecular oxygen into two atoms of oxygen. Okay, so molecular oxygen is O2, and it is acted upon by UV rays. Okay, it is acted upon by UV rays, and it breaks into two atoms of oxygen. Okay, now this one atom of oxygen fuses with another molecule of oxygen. One atom of oxygen fuses with another atom of oxygen, another molecule of oxygen to produce ozone. One atom of oxygen fuses with one molecule of the oxygen to produce ozone. Okay, so O3 is produced by O2 plus O. Okay, and this action is carried out in the presence of UV rays. Okay, so actually UV rays break molecular oxygen into atomic oxygen, and UV rays fuse atomic oxygen with molecular oxygen to produce ozone. Okay, so UV rays are responsible for production of ozone. UV rays are responsible for production of the ozone. Okay, and UV rays are also responsible for breaking of the ozone. UV rays are also responsible for breaking of the ozone. See, ozone is O3. Okay, and then O3 is acted upon by UV rays and it breaks into O2 plus O. So UV rays produce ozone and UV rays deplete ozone. UV rays produce ozone and UV rays deplete ozone. Okay, but there is a balance between ozone production and ozone depletion. Generally, there is a balance between ozone formation and ozone depletion. Okay, when this balance gets distorted, the ozone layer is depleted, and that when the ozone layer becomes thin, it is known as ozone hole. Okay, generally there is balance between ozone formation and ozone depletion, but when this balance is lost, the rate of ozone depletion is increased and the thickness of the ozone layer is reduced, which is known as ozone hole. Okay, and when the ozone hole is produced, it cannot absorb the UV rays coming from the solar radiation, and the UV rays will fall on the earth, causing harm to the organism. So in this manner, ozone depletion is harmful. Okay, now you may think, when the balance between ozone formation and ozone depletion is lost, okay, when will be the balance, when this balance gets distorted? Okay, you may think that. So answer of it is, when we use chlorofluorocarbon in our refrigerator and air conditioner. Okay, in our air conditioners as well as refrigerators, we use chlorofluorocarbons. Okay, so chlorofluorocarbon is released from the refrigerators and air conditioners that we use at our home. Okay, and that chlorofluorocarbon travel up to the stratosphere. Okay, it will travel up to the stratosphere because it is light in nature. Chlorofluorocarbon is light in nature. So that chlorofluorocarbon will go up in the stratosphere, and when it reaches to the stratosphere, UV rays will act on the chlorofluorocarbon. Okay, UV rays will act on the chlorofluorocarbon. Okay, now these UV rays will break chlorofluorocarbon, and chlorine will get separated. Okay, from the chlorofluorocarbon, what will get separated? Chlorine will get separated, and that chlorine will increase the ozone depletion. Chlorine increases the ozone depletion. In the process of ozone depletion, chlorine works as catalyst. Okay, in the process of ozone depletion, chlorine works as catalyst, and it increases the process of depletion. Okay, so who actually increased the ozone depletion? Ozone depletion is increased by chlorofluorocarbon. Okay, ozone depletion is increased by chlorofluorocarbon. Why? Because when chlorofluorocarbon is acted upon by UV rays, it releases chlorine, and that chlorine works as catalyst in the ozone depletion process, and it leads to massive ozone depletion. One chlorine molecule can deplete 1 lakh molecule of ozone. One chlorine molecule can deplete 1 lakh molecule of ozone. So in this manner, its effect remains for long term. Okay, the effect of one chlorine remains for long term. Even if we release small amount of chlorofluorocarbon, its effect remains for the long term. Okay, in this manner, the rate of ozone depletion is increased, and the thickness of the ozone layer is reduced, and an ozone hole is formed. Okay, so let's look in the textbook. Ozone gas is continuously formed by the action of the UV rays on the molecular oxygen. Okay, and it is also degraded into molecular oxygen in the stratosphere. So UV rays works on the molecular oxygen to produce ozone, and UV rays break ozone into molecular oxygen. Okay, UV rays work on molecular oxygen to produce ozone, and itself break ozone to produce molecular oxygen. Okay, to produce molecular oxygen. Yes, there should be a balance between production and degradation of the ozone in stratosphere. Of late, the balance has been disrupted due to enhancement of the ozone degradation by chlorofluorocarbon. Most of the time, chlorofluorocarbon increases the ozone degradation process. How? The chlorofluorocarbons find wide use as refrigerants. CFCs are used as refrigerants, and CFCs discharged in the lower part of the atmosphere move upward and reach stratosphere. In stratosphere, UV rays act on them, releasing chloride atoms. Okay, so chlorides from the CFC are separated by the action of UV rays, and chloride degrades ozone-releasing molecular oxygen, with these atoms acting merely as catalysts. Okay, chloride degrades ozone-releasing molecular oxygen, with these atoms acting merely as catalysts. So chloride acts as catalyst in the ozone depletion process. Okay, in the ozone depletion process, chloride works as catalyst, and chloride atoms are not consumed in the reaction, and hence whatever the CFCs are added to the stratosphere, they have permanent and continuing effects on the ozone levels. Okay, even though we release small amount of chloride ions, a small amount of CFC, they will have long-lasting effect on the ozone depletion. Okay, so although ozone depletion is occurring widely in the stratosphere, the depletion is particularly marked over the Antarctic region. Okay, ozone depletion is going on everywhere, but its marked depletion is occurring in the Antarctic region, and this is resulted in the formation of large area of thin ozone layer, commonly known as ozone hole. What is ozone hole? Ozone hole is a region where there is thinning of the ozone layer is there. Okay, so then UV radiation of wavelength shorter than the UVB are absorbed completely by Earth's atmosphere, given that the ozone layer is intact. Okay, if the ozone layer is intact, then the UV radiation which have shorter wavelength than UVB radiation. See, UV radiations are of many types: UVA, UVB, UVC. Okay, so UV radiations which have shorter wavelength than the UVB radiation. Okay, UV radiations which have shorter wavelength than the UVB radiations are completely absorbed in the atmosphere or stratosphere if the ozone layer is intact. Okay, if the ozone layer is intact, then the UV rays shorter than the UVB waves will be completely absorbed in the stratosphere. But when the ozone hole is there, all UV radiations will come to the Earth's surface. Okay, so but UVB damages DNA and mutation may occur. So when UVB reaches to the Earth's surface, it will act on organism, causing mutation by breaking the DNA. Okay, earlier we said that UV radiations work on the protein and DNA, and it leads to breaking of the bonds of DNA and protein. So when there is breaking of the bond of DNA and protein, there will be mutations. Okay, and it causes aging of the skin, damage to the skin cells, and various types of skin cancers are produced. Okay, effects of UV rays are aging of the skin, damage to the skin, and various types of skin cancer. Okay, so first effect is aging, and second effect is skin cancer. Then in human eye, cornea absorbs UVB radiation, and high doses of UVB radiation leads to inflammation of the cornea, which is known as snow blindness, and it may also cause cataract. Okay, sometimes when UVB radiation fall on the cornea of the eye, we have a structure which is present in the eye which is known as cornea. So when the UVB radiations fall on the cornea, they lead to inflammation of the cornea, which is known as snow blindness. Okay, and sometimes they may cause cataract also. Okay, such exposure may permanently damage the cornea. Sometimes the cornea may get permanently damaged, and we should go for transplantation of the cornea. Okay, and we have to go for transplantation. So now, which steps are taken by the world to reduce the ozone depletion. Okay, which steps are taken by countries to reduce ozone depletion? So, recognizing the deleterious effects of ozone depletion, an international treaty known as Montreal Protocol was signed at Montreal City of the Canada in 1987. Okay, in the year 1987, all countries met in the Montreal City of the Canada. Okay, in the year 1987, all countries met in the Montreal City of the Canada, and they signed a treaty which is known as Montreal City on the name of Montreal Treaty on the name of the city. Okay, Montreal Treaty or Montreal Protocol was signed on the name of the city present in the Canada. Okay, and that treaty came effective or became effective in 1989. It became effective in the year 1989, and to control the emission of the ozone depleting substances, subsequently many more efforts have been made and protocols have laid down defined roadmaps separately for developed and developing countries for reducing the emission of the CFC and other ozone depleting substances. Okay, so many such treaties were signed to reduce the depletion of ozone or to reduce the production of the substance leading to ozone depletion. Okay, so this is all about depletion of ozone in the stratosphere. I hope you have understood the topic well. We will meet in the Google class also, but today you please focus on this video and please read it in the text. Okay, best of luck.